Beloved soul, have you ever found yourself surrounded by people, family, friends, colleagues, yet felt an inexplicable emptiness within? Have you noticed that as you walk deeper into your spiritual practice, moments of isolation seem to grow? You may smile, you may converse, yet a silent space within you remains untouched, as though no one around truly understands the language of your heart. If you have felt this sacred ache, take heart, for you are not alone. Every sincere seeker of truth, from ancient sages meditating in Himalayan caves to modern aspirants practicing in the quiet of their rooms, has walked this very path. This loneliness is not a flaw, nor is it a punishment. It is a gentle call from the divine, reminding you that your soul was never meant to be satisfied by the temporary attachments of this world. When your consciousness begins to rise, you naturally outgrow certain conversations, certain pleasures, and certain company. The things that once brought you happiness no longer satisfy you, and you start yearning for something deeper, something eternal. It is in these moments of inner solitude that the soul begins to remember its true home, the infinite spirit. The world may see your quietness as detachment or your distance as strangeness, but in truth, it is the blossoming of your soul's longing for the beloved within. Loneliness on the spiritual path is a sacred sign, dear one. It is a bridge between your old life and your eternal self. And today, in this message, let us walk across that bridge together and uncover why this sense of isolation appears, what it truly means, and how it ultimately leads you into the arms of the divine. Beloved, when a soul begins its sincere journey toward the divine, an inner awakening stirs within. It is as though a veil that once covered your vision begins to lift. Suddenly, you start perceiving life differently. The same pleasures, conversations, and activities that once brought you joy now feel empty and purposeless. Where others laugh, you remain silent. Where others chase after material gain, your heart whispers of something higher, something eternal. This is the first and most natural reason why spiritual seekers experience a sense of isolation. The world we live in, dear one, is deeply engrossed in the outward, in the pursuit of fleeting pleasures, possessions, recognition, and attachments. But when the soul's inner eyes open, it no longer finds satisfaction in these temporary joys. A silent detachment arises. This does not mean you cease to love your family or friends, but your love now seeks to go beyond mere association and surface emotions. It longs for purity, for depth, for truth. And so, naturally, you begin to drift away from the crowd. Not by force, not through pride, but because your inner vibration changes. You now resonate with subtler thoughts, higher ideals, and a deeper peace that others may not yet comprehend. Just as a bird, when it realizes it has wings, cannot remain confined to the ground, so too does the awakening soul feel restless amidst worldly preoccupations. This separation is not a loss, dear soul, but a necessary passage. The divine lovingly pulls you away from the noise so you may hear the whisper of eternity within your heart. And though this phase may feel lonely, it is the beginning of a beautiful transformation, where your soul prepares to embrace the infinite. Beloved soul, understand this profound truth: you are not merely flesh, bone, and mind. You are, in your deepest essence, a spark of the infinite spirit. And though for a time the soul descends into this world of matter to play its part, it never truly forgets its eternal home. Deep within every being lies a silent yearning, a sacred homesickness for God. As long as the senses are outwardly engaged, this inner longing remains buried. But the moment a soul turns inward through meditation, prayer, or sincere self-inquiry, this longing awakens like a distant memory, calling you back to your source. This divine yearning creates a peculiar loneliness, for the heart recognizes that no human relationship, no worldly achievement, and no external circumstance can fully satisfy its infinite hunger. You may find yourself surrounded by well-meaning people, loving family, and devoted friends, yet still feel a hollow space within. It is not their lack of love, nor your lack of affection, but the natural yearning of the soul for that which is eternal and unchanging, the bliss of divine union. The greatest saints and sages have spoken of this homesickness. It is the soul's memory of the joy it once knew in the embrace of spirit. This sacred ache grows as you progress on the path, pulling you away from distractions and urging you towards silence, solitude, and the inner sanctuary of your being. It is a divine invitation to leave behind the toys of the world and seek the treasure of God realization. Dear one, never mistake this loneliness for misfortune. It is the highest calling a soul can receive, the gentle reminder from the divine that you belong to Him alone, and that your true home awaits within. Beloved soul, know that every step upon the spiritual path is guided by unseen hands, and every phase you encounter holds deep purpose, even those that feel difficult. This sense of loneliness you experience is not a punishment, nor a cruel accident. It is, in truth, a sacred test lovingly given by the divine to strengthen your spirit and prepare you for the great awakening that lies ahead. In this world, most souls seek comfort in the approval and company of others. Their sense of happiness depends on the presence, opinions, and validation of the outer world. But the one who aspires to know God must learn to find joy within, independent of outer circumstances. The loneliness you feel is the divine's way of gently removing the outer props you once leaned upon, so you might discover the eternal support within yourself. Even the great masters, dear one, were not spared this test. Did not Lord Jesus retreat into the wilderness for 40 days, alone with God? Did not Lord Krishna seek solitude in forests to commune with the infinite? The saints willingly walked into isolation, for they knew it was the furnace in which worldly attachments would be burnt away, and the soul would shine in its purest light. In this phase, the divine silently watches. Will you run back to familiar comforts to fill the emptiness? Or will you bravely sit in the silence and turn your heart inward? If you choose the latter, you will find that the loneliness transforms into sacred aloneness, a blissful state where you realize you are never truly alone, for God resides within you. This test, though painful, is a blessing in disguise, awakening the soul to its immortal nature. Beloved child of light, one of the tender pains of walking the spiritual path is the growing sense that the world around you no longer understands you. As your thoughts grow subtler and your heart becomes more absorbed in divine yearning, you will often find that those closest to you, friends, family, and companions, may struggle to comprehend your silence, your values, and your inner transformations. This too, dear one, is part of the sacred journey. The majority of people live with their consciousness turned outward, seeking fulfillment in possessions, recognition, and worldly pleasures. When you begin to turn inward, your priorities change. What once delighted you now feels trivial. The noisy conversations, endless entertainments, and restless pursuits of the world seem like a passing dream, while your heart longs for quiet reflection, meditation, and the companionship of the infinite. It is natural, then, that those still bound to the outward life might see you as detached, odd, or distant. They may wonder why you no longer engage in the same pleasures or pursue the same ambitions. But remember, beloved, this is not a rejection of them, it is a response to the call of your own soul. The poet once said, "A person gazing at the stars is always misunderstood by those gathering pebbles on the shore." So too, as your gaze lifts to the infinite, some around you may not yet see what you see, or feel what you feel. Do not be disheartened. The world's misunderstanding is a sign that your consciousness is rising beyond ordinary patterns. Love all, serve all, but let your heart belong to the divine alone. In time, those meant to walk this path with you will join, and those who cannot will fall away with grace. Beloved soul, know this timeless truth: the spiritual path is not only a journey of rising to the heavens, but also of letting go of that which binds you to earth. Every attachment you hold, whether to people, places, possessions, or ideas, acts like a thread tethering your consciousness to limitation. And so, in its great compassion, the divine allows periods of loneliness to arise in your life, not to hurt you, but to lovingly loosen those ties. This loneliness serves as a fire, burning away attachments that no longer serve your higher growth. It may feel like loss at first, losing old friendships, familiar comforts, or worldly desires, but in truth, it is the shedding of unnecessary burdens. The more you cling to external sources of happiness, the more restless your heart will be. The soul, born of infinite bliss, can never be fully satisfied by impermanent things. In solitude, dear one, you begin to realize this. As outer attachments fade, a deeper, purer love awakens within you, a love that is not possessive, not born of need, but of understanding. You learn to love others as reflections of the divine, to serve without expectation, and to walk in the world without being bound by it. This purification is necessary because only a heart free from attachment can hold the boundless love of God. Until the cup of your heart is emptied of worldly cravings, it cannot be filled with divine nectar. Do not fear the loneliness, beloved, embrace it as a holy fire refining your soul. And in time, you will emerge from it radiant, capable of loving without chains and living in the world as a free, joyous, and compassionate being. Beloved child of eternity, understand this profound secret of the soul's journey: the loneliness you feel is not a permanent state. It is the night before the dawn, the silence before the divine speaks, the emptiness before your heart overflows with the bliss of God's presence. Every sincere seeker must pass through this sacred valley of solitude, for it prepares the soul to receive the infinite. When worldly attachments fade, and human companionship no longer satisfies the deeper thirst within, the soul instinctively begins to turn inward. In that solitude, in the seeming emptiness, something beautiful stirs, the presence of the beloved. The loneliness you once feared becomes your sanctuary. You begin to feel an unseen presence walking with you, speaking in the language of silence, and filling your heart with a peace the world cannot give. Every saint, every awakened soul, has walked through this stage. It is the doorway to divine union. In embracing solitude, you discover that you were never truly alone. The one you sought in temples, scriptures, and relationships has always been within you, waiting for you to turn inward. And when that presence reveals itself, in a whisper of peace, a tear of joy, a deep knowing beyond words, you will realize why the loneliness came. It was to clear away distractions and make room for God. Then, beloved, your loneliness transforms into holy aloneness. Whether among crowds or in forests, your heart will remain united with the infinite. You will live in the world but no longer be of it, carrying a silent joy, a serene strength, and a love for all, untouched by outward circumstances. This is the blessed fruit of your loneliness, the eternal embrace of the divine within. Beloved soul, if you find yourself walking through this sacred loneliness today, know that you are walking the same path that saints, sages, and masters have traveled for countless ages. Take heart, this phase is not a punishment, but a profound blessing. The divine, in infinite compassion, is preparing your heart for the highest love, for the eternal companionship of spirit. What seems like isolation is but the clearing away of illusions, so you may see the beloved, ever seated within you. When you feel the ache of solitude, do not turn outward to fill it. Instead, sit quietly in meditation. Close your eyes, turn your gaze inward, and call upon the infinite friend who has waited within your heart through countless lifetimes. Whisper to him, "Reveal thyself to me." In time, you will find that the loneliness dissolves into a sacred stillness, and that stillness into bliss. Beloved, I urge you, embrace this loneliness not as your enemy, but as your guide. Let it draw you deeper into silence, into self-discovery, and into God. And as you do, you will find a peace this world cannot give, and a love that no one can take away. If this message has spoken to your heart, dear one, I invite you to walk this path with awareness. Reflect upon your own moments of solitude, and see them not as burdens, but as sacred invitations from the divine. If you found this wisdom helpful, I warmly invite you to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this message with other seekers walking this same silent path. Together, let us create a circle of light, a community of souls remembering their eternal home. The infinite walks with you, always. Aum, peace, amen.